Hey you, it's Drew, and today we are going to take a look at the upcoming Chinese New Year character Otohime. If this dragon-themed SSR is any indication, it's gonna be a sleepy year. She has slightly above average speed of 464, and even at just one copy, she could be a great sleep support and spirit machine to a degree. Why is that? Let's check out her active skills. First up, the knockout hit, which generates 2 spirit and costs 70 time units, 100% damage to one enemy, but 400% damage if she has already used up her second skill limit. If no enemies are sleeping, this becomes also a forced sleep skill, so it puts the attacked enemy to sleep. Damage from this attack does not wake up sleeping enemies, but neither does any other attack in her skill set, so I'm a bit confused why they didn't just write it into her passives. So yes, this is a nightmare unit, and her second skill is an instant skill, Drowning Blossom. No spirit generation, but 400% damage to one enemy, ignoring skin passive skills and counter stance, and usable if her party has 6 or more spirit or if 2 or more enemies are sleeping. That's the only condition, so as the name already implies, she can basically drown the enemy in attacks. It's usable 3 times per battle, so she can instantly, when she gets the turn, most likely immediately use that Drowning Blossom 3 times and then another attack afterwards. So 4 attacks in quick succession if no enemies are interfering with that. Now her third skill is the only one that actually costs some spirit, but it only costs 1 spirit, and if she uses it, it will still be spirit positive because allies will gain 3 spirit for each sleeping target hit, and this attack can hit 2, so this attack might produce up to 5 spirit and additionally deal 600% damage to 2 enemies that are sleeping, also ignoring enemy damage reduction effects. So quite a chunky attack that also may be able to hit beyond guards. Her final skill is called With the Fishes, and it is basically a Triumph Forced Sleep. Costs no spirit, 70 time units, and grants 2 enemies the sleep status effect for 200 time units. This skill is unlocked each time she defeats another unit with an attack, or it is also unlocked if she is on the battlefield at the very start of the battle, although then she will not be able to make quite as nicely use of her entry effect, which we will cover next. Before we move on though, quick note, maybe calling her a spirit machine might go a bit too far. However, each skill that she can use is either spirit neutral or positive, so she will definitely not eat up any of your spirit, which is a rather nice feature, I think, especially if you only have 1 copy of her potentially, because even at just 1 copy you might be able to make good use of her passives. The first one being Turning Tides, and that is the entry effect that I was alluding to earlier. This is a very, very strong effect because it is a forced sleep effect, and it is affecting the non-sleeping enemies with the highest or the lowest current TU. So both of them will be affected, and what that also means is that if the enemy with the highest time units is already sleeping, then it just goes to the next highest. So this might cause potentially all enemies to fall asleep just on her entry. And what makes that especially juicy is that she will immediately get the next turn by having her time units reduced to 0, meaning most likely she can immediately fire off 3 Drowning Blossoms and a Nightmare Dragon. So that's pretty much 2400% damage instantly on her entry, besides the fact that she puts some of these opponents to sleep if they don't have sleep wards. The savage side of her skill set is also reflected in that she has a hunter's armor of 50%, so as long as she didn't kill an enemy with an attack while on the battlefield, she has 50% damage reduction and also heals 30% of max HP on her turn. That's okay, but nothing really amazing, I think, and also she is immovable, which on the one hand saves her from someone like Cleopatra, but on the other hand, it also means that you cannot abuse her entry effect by just, for example, a Storm Michaela reviving Storm Sheen on Otohime. The only way to make use of that Turning Tides effect again is with the second passive, and that one is called Deadly Revival. However, she will only revive, basically, if she did defeat an enemy with an attack while on the battlefield, and then she will be revived to the very front of allied reinforcements with full HP. This can only trigger once, but her use limits on the Drowning Blossom is reset. And I suppose the thing about the very front of allied reinforcements might also mean that if she is defeated, she will immediately enter again, basically forcing two enemies to sleep yet again, getting her to turn again. So this is a very, very instant revenge. However, it is not considered a revenge passive skill, so it cannot be ignored. But keep in mind that she does have to defeat an enemy with an attack while on the battlefield. But even at one copy, this might be feasible. As I just told you before, she can very quickly get off a lot of attacks if she isn't running into some counter units. Not literal counter stance units, but units that counter her, and I can think of a few, some of which are already a bit older, like Sleeping Beauty with the Thorns might put a stop to her because she doesn't have a sleep ward. What she does have though is that if she is conjured, until she defeats an enemy with an attack, she has an overpower passive, so basically she can ignore things like Hold Ground Plus, however, only until she gets that first kill. Now what is really nice though is the last paragraph here in her passive, and that is this unit will ignore attacks that would damage exactly 2 targets. That means she has a permanent evasive stance, meaning if she is on the battlefield together with a guard on your team, she can only be reached by attack all skills. That is necessary though, because I feel like she doesn't strike me like a super survivable unit otherwise. Her entry effect is arguably one of the very best in the game, but it can only be used twice at most. She doesn't even have any endure in her skill set, so her biggest survival asset is indeed that evasive stance. Let's see if it is enough. So far we have never seen a unit that actually has a permanent evasive stance. Meanwhile, we are getting more attack all skills though. And it's not just that she doesn't have any immediate things to keep her alive, also her healing is very limited, also happening as long as she didn't get any kills yet. All that being said, she can be an absolute nightmare running together with a sleep team, probably given already great value just at one copy to support your other units. Even if you're not running a sleep team, she's arguably pretty good. Burn teams will absolutely hate facing her. However, there is the question to be asked if that is even necessary at this point, given how outclassed the burn team builds are currently to a big degree. Even Gilgamesh didn't change much on that, and with this kind of Otohime release, burn becomes even more questionable outside of late platoons in arena, and of course with some value in war. Otohime could add value to most teams. However, let's see how she does really on the battlefield. As usual, I will give you some top arena footage on this channel very soon as possible, but I would really recommend waiting until the Lucky Fountain hits if you are watching this during her first banner. The fountain will come before her banner ends, and we might already get glimpses into Dark Cinderella's skill set before that as well. As for her tier and her AI, I will dive deeper into this in another review. For now, thanks to Helios for the leaks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot. And as always, thanks for watching. And happy Chinese New Year if you are celebrating.